Hello to my beautiful family of light. Yes, that's you, and I'm happy to have you here joining me today. My name is Claudia. I'm doing a series of videos having to do with my life, going from unaware and unconscious that there's anything more to me than the physical aspects that you see, the mind, the body, but come to find out there is a spirit. And so this is all about that discovery. And I'm now, this is installment number 8. Actually, this may just be a little bit of a review, and then we'll go into 8. In my 20s, that was a time of self-discovery, having been suppressed, considerably suppressed in my younger years, all the way up to when I left home and went out on my own. And during that time of the 20s, I believe that it's probably a time for almost every single person walking this planet. That it is a time to begin to get to know yourself. We have lots of liberties and freedoms, the freedom to choose what you want to do. We don't have to make a decision about it, and yet some are equipped to be more logical, rational, linear kind of thinking. I discovered a little bit later in my 20s that I'm a nice combination of both. However, when I turned myself loose in my early 20s, this was all about freedom. I did not have wings until that time. And giving myself wings, I took the opportunity when everybody was gone for me to shut down the little business that we had and to go find a job and to get a little apartment and to begin a life on my own. Ill-equipped as I was, I did not really have decision-making skills. That wasn't within the realm of what I was taught growing up and all through those years. And that isn't a judgment or anything. It's an observation. I've learned to do that, over these years. It's just the way things were, and that was made pretty clear to me while I was growing up. It's how things are. So buck up, sister, which I did. So during self-discovery, we have to remember, and this is as much for you as it is for me, that the foundational years, who you're going to become, is set by age 5 or so. There's things that add to that compound it as we grow in years. And as the years went on for me, and being suppressed and given way too much responsibility without any authority. Who knows what would have happened if I'd have had any authority. But there were things that had to be done, and my parents were not available to do them. And so, it fell to the older kids. So, what I learned during that time, all throughout my 20s, is each step, each time I made a decision that was not particularly good, the inner guidance system that we all have lets you know that this may be a slippery slope you're headed to. That's the phrase I learned to use with my son. I always tried to not tell him what to do, but to just encourage him to be armed with information so that you did not land on too many slippery slopes. But we do have to explore. You have to go exploring, and I'm a curious person. Always have been, and probably always will be, certainly about some things. And as the 20s wore on and different things were happening with me that led me to know there was something with me trying to guide and steer me in positive ways. And if you will go back and look at episode 7 of my 20s, then there's stuff that's in there that may help you. Some of the situations and the way in which your guidance tries to let you know that you need to get out of harm's way, or that really isn't going to help you in expressing the truth of who you are as a divine being. And so by the end of my 20s, I began to get more curious. What is that? What's going on? How do these things come about that you can't see anybody, but I could feel or hear? And as I got older, then we added sensing, that I could sense there was other things going on. And I've always been someone who had prophetic dreams. My mother let me know that was perfectly okay. I never knew it was something, it's not extraordinary. In fact, she never treated it that way, and you shouldn't either. Every single person walking the earth, having this time of life here, is a soul that's embodied in the physical. So you've got mental, emotional, physical, and your spirit. Whatever you want to call it, it's a connection with your divine origins. So I wanted to know more about that, and once you begin that process of saying, I want to know more about it, then information starts coming to you, and it certainly did for me. Now remember, this is a free will place. There's no guidance system. There's no a God that's going to interfere with your choices. However, they're going to do for you like they did for me. And I think if you start journaling, going back and remembering some of the situations in your life that brought discomfort, that you'll probably get a whole list of that you were uncomfortable, that you knew there was something not right about it, that it may have been completely wrong and you knew that, and maybe you went ahead with it, and that's the free will aspect of things. We get to make those choices and decisions. And so that is exactly what I did. I lived fully in my 20s. And I hope you did too, or do too. And that you also take it as an opportunity to begin to understand and recognize. That's the purpose of these videos, is to help you to recognize you have a divine guidance system. It's connected with our source creator, Father, Mother, God, universe. The universe to me doesn't quite cut it, because it's way more expansive than that. But I'm going to use the word God, source, and creator interchangeably. So it was around that time that I went into a bookstore around my late 20s, 26, 27, something like that. And I got home with a bag of books, and after putting my son down to bed and taking care of the evening, I opened up that bag of books, and it was nothing I would have chosen. It was all foreign. There was a book called Walk-ins, a Ruth Montgomery book about souls exchanging places. There was a dream dictionary. I didn't know that you could even have such a thing. And there was a book called There Is a River by Sugru, about a psychic named Edgar Cayce. And those three things had a huge impact on me. But what I will tell you is it was not comfortable being 27 or 28 and having been raised Catholic, pretty solid background, although I had not been active in the church for a number of years. That's a little story in and of itself. I'll share with you when I'm not inclined to get embarrassed about it. But Anyhow, well, I suppose I could tell you now. I stopped being a practicing Catholic when I had wanted to be a nun, and then I discovered sex, and it was like, that's not going to work, so I had to throw that out. And then the other thing I discovered was, because I did have prophetic dreams, I saw things that did take place that my mother could validate, and the church said, no, you don't get to do that. We're the ones that get to interpret your dreams. But I always knew that it was my Creator who was step by step at some point. I was always comfortable with what was going on. I didn't understand it, but so anyhow, I'm going to move on with the books. I started by trying to read the Ruth Montgomery book, very thin paperback, quite old, and the first paragraph was maybe 5 or 6 sentences, and I slammed that book shut, and I said, I can't read this. This is the occult. And a voice very clearly next to me said, look that word up in the dictionary. Well, now I'm looking around. You'd think I'd never heard of the voice before, although I had, but this was so clearly like you and me, sitting and having a cup of coffee, just friendly and just, informative. Just look that word up. Well, after looking around a bit and sort of dismissing that, I opened it up again, the book, and read that paragraph again. And I did the same thing, closed it, and I said, I can't read this. This is like reading Rosemary's Baby or something devilish. And the voice just very gently, calmly, but in a little more stern voice said, look it up. And so I did. I reached over to the bookshelf by my chair, got out the Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary. I remember it so well. Looked it up, and the description in the dictionary was things that are hidden from view. And I went, that's it? It isn't anything more than that? Things that are hidden from view? And it was like giving me permission. Well, you can read this. This isn't, just read it. This is the curious part of me, right? And I did, and I didn't understand much of it, but it was about souls exchanging bodies, and I will have an experience of that much later in the 90s. So this would have been 78 or 79, I think. Anyhow, so I read that. I read the Dream Dictionary, and I also at that time had gotten information and was getting a magazine called Venture Inward, and that came about because I started going to a Unity church, which was open-minded and not free thinking exactly, but did not put barriers, didn't put you in a yard with a fence around it regarding spirituality. And this really led me to spirituality and away from dogmas. We'll just put it that way. And I have since explored almost all of the world's religions in some aspect or another, and from my perspective, they all have one thing in common, and that is that God is love, and that we are here to be love. Okay, that said, that really started me into a spiritual journey in which all kinds of material, books, and of every genre you can imagine. A new alphabet was developing in my awareness. Things, Indian or Eastern philosophies of reincarnation and that we have these abilities and that sort of thing all started coming into my awareness. So that's where I'm going to leave this off for the day. I think the biggest thing is for me to say to you is that you are not who you think you are. And that always makes me really emotional, because if I could give you an experience of yourself, of your divine nature, which I can, I've been doing all kinds of different things in this last 30 years that I've learned how to do in connecting you with that divinity, connect you with departed loved ones, connect you with the reason, the hidden meaning behind things that are not within your conscious awareness, but making them conscious helps you to choose more wisely. There's just so many things. Anyhow, I'm going to move into the next video. Will be video number 8. It's going to take us, if you want to join me. I'd love to have you come along. I've had a very interesting life, and you're just getting little snippets of it here. But as the years go on, it gets even more amazing and more interesting how Source gets a hold of me. Anyhow, so that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope you're keeping your own notes on the things that took place in your life. There's good things and bad things, or we call them bad things. I call them, really wonderful, fun stuff, good things, and I call the other challenges, because that's what we're here to do. We came here to experience ourselves when we're not in harmony with who we truly are, which is our divine nature. So with that said, chapter 8 will be from the late 20s. Then I'm not sure how far I'm going to get into the 30s, because things start hopping by then. So we'll see. I don't want to keep these too long. I like them to be a little right around 20 minutes or a little less. If you want them longer, let me know. I'm happy. You know me, I could just talk probably till the cows come home. I can even call them if you'd like. So anyhow, I want to tell you that I love you this much. These arms go all the way around this planet. They give you a big hug, and I'm sending you that energy of love. It's just love, folks. That's what you are, divine love. And anything more that you want to know about me is in the description down below. Please take the time to subscribe, share if you're so inclined. It's what helps to get this information out into the world, so that we can all create a loving planet. So until I see you next time, be well, continue to be safe, be happy, and always be the light that you were meant to be, your true self. I'll see you next time.